All right, in chemistry, lessons build on themselves. So if you don't have a good understanding of Sig Figs, please make sure that you go back and watch the previous video because now we're going to do calculations with Sig Figs. Okay, Sig Figs are the reasons why we know what to round to in our calculations. So first things first, all right, when you calculate with anything um, in science classes, in chemistry, or in physics, when you'll have that. Okay, your answers cannot be more precise than your least precise measurement. You can't have something that's about 25 and about 10 and be like, oh, it's 250.6249, blah, 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 blah. All right, you can't do that. You have to make sure that you have the appropriate amount. All right. So first things first, we have to know how to round. Everybody knows the saying, 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, like Elsa said, let it go, let it go. All that kind of stuff, all right? So make sure that you know that. Other people say 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, give it a rest. Totally up to you, but we do need to know that because rounding is a very major part of what you do with your answer once you've calculated it. All right, so for example, just to review, I know you know how to do this. If you have in your calculator 54.98234 and it says to round to 4 sig figs, you take the first 4 significant values, you make a cut, and then you look at this number to the right of where you cut off. If this number is greater than 5 or greater, you push this number up. If it's less, it stays. So this one stays at 54.98, okay? So this is a let it go situation. All right, 2.3478 comes in your calculator and you have to round it to 3 sig figs. So you take 1, 2, 3, make your cut, and realize this is a 7. Oh, that's greater than 5. So that means this gets pushed up to 2.35 grams. 2.35 grams, okay? 3 sig figs. So what do we do down here? We have the number 3,879.4672 meters. We need to round to 2 sig figs. So I take my first 2 significant values, make my cut. I look at my number to the right of it. It's greater than 5, so that bumps this up to a 9. And my answer, look at this, it's in the thousands. It is going to be 3,900. That has 2 sig figs. Do not round it to the number 39. Star circle highlight this for yourself. This is super important because this is a common misconception. All right, you still have to have your rounded answer make sense. And can I offer you a pro tip? You know a way that you will always round this correctly? Put a dollar sign out in front. If you have $3,879 and you need to round it to 2 sig figs, all right, are you going to round this closer to $39 or to $3,900? Yeah, 3,900. I don't know, we have some sort of intrinsic value when it comes to money, so we want to make sure that that stays to be the same. All right, so kind of use that tip when you are going through. All right, so how do we know how many places we round it to? Well, there are 2 rules. So there's one rule for addition and subtraction problems, and the next slide we do rule 2 for multiplication and division. So for addition and subtraction, you're going to round to the least significant place. All right, so this sometimes is easier once you put it and add things vertically to see it. All right, but please go get your calculators. I want you to try all this and I want you to see what goes on. So push pause, push play when you come back. Okay, you're back. And then you have 12.52 and you're going to add 7.683 and you're going to add 8.9 in your calculator Add them together, and you're going to get 29.103. Well, what we want to do is round to the least significant place. The least significant place is this tenths place. So we want to round so that we don't have this 8 and this 3 and this value over here. So we're going to round to 29.1 meters. That's going to be our least significant place. The same thing is going to be true when we subtract. All right, so if you have 78.9265 grams and you're going to subtract 34.6 grams, in the calculator, it'll say 44.3265. Well, again, we are going to round to the least significant place. So that means this tenths place right here, all right, and we're going to round to 44.3. And that is our value right there. We don't tend to use addition and subtraction that much in chemistry. We do a lot more calculations with multiplication and division. So let's take a look at that rule, because rule 2 is slightly different. You round to the least number of sig figs total, all right, for your problems. So if you have 78.35 centimeters and 9.3 centimeters in your calculator, you get this area. Let's say it's an area. 728.562 centimeters. What we do is we take a look at this value right here. This has 4 sig figs. Okay, 7, 8, 3, and 5. This number has 2 sig figs. So which of these two is the least number of sig figs? It's the 2, obviously. So we have to take this number and round it to 2 sig figs. So that means it's 730. And again, remember, it's not 73. All right, if you place a dollar sign in front, $728.56 is closer to $730 than it is to 73. So be very, very careful that it makes sense. Offer that pro tip with the money sign again. All right, for the other value, okay, when you're dividing, 7.987 meters squared divided by 4.2 meters in your calculator. Ooh, look at all that calculator vomit that comes out. But try it, put it in your calculator. And then you see this one has 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. This one has 3 sig figs. So this is the least number of sig figs. So you're going to make your answer be 1.90. And again, that last 0 is significant as per my last video. All right, so please make sure that you know whether you are talking about your addition and subtraction rules, okay, or whether you're talking about your multiplication and division rounding rules, because they are very different and they're going to lead you to different answers. So it's not, round to the tenths or round to the hundredths. Not always going to be that way. It's rounding to the number of sig figs in your problem.